You are listening to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all the latest news, Overwatch League results, and mishaps in Overwatch. Here are your hosts, Totemly Drunk and Edinar.
What is up, guys, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things Overwatch. I am your host, Totemly Drunk, and tonight on episode 187, we're going to take a look and see what our dev and savior, Papa Jeffrey Cap, praise him, has to say about the state of events in Overwatch 2. Houston is looking to channel their inner force of Hooreg. We got two teams locked in roster-wise for the 2020 Overwatch League season, and, there's a couple of sign-ins in particular that kind of, cause social media to kind of implode, I guess is one way to put it.
Ex-coaches.
That too,
To implode.
all of the above. But anyways, before we can get into the news and introduce you to my co-host, let me quickly just take a moment to thank everyone who is joining us tonight on Twitch for our live show, and of course to thank all of our repeat listeners out there. So joining me tonight, as always, this time on a Tuesday, because we are recording a day earlier, because scheduling stuff tomorrow, is my co-host, Ed. Ed, what a week it has been. We've been a little busy, we've kind of speed ran, podcast submissions, artwork, losing 220 rating only to get it back, and back-to-back top fours, all that good stuff and more. But how has the week been treating you?
It's been good. It's kind of the chaotic week before holidays and stuff like that. Like you said, we submitted a new podcast to iTunes, so that is up. It is based on Hearthstone Battleground, so we're very excited about that. Tavern Tales, a podcast streaming platform near you. So we've been playing a lot of that. I'm still sidelined with no Overwatch due to the wrist. So that kind of sucks. Just a lot of craziness that's been going on. We both kind of started streaming a little, and, it's good times. Good times had by all.
Sometimes.
It
depends on where RNGesus wants to drive you.
I did fine last night. Me and Spider was in chat, and we were listening to Christmas music.
Not even surprised.
No, but we bonded over our nerdiness of Christmas music because he's been listening to it as well. So, You know what? Two of us versus one of you, and we win.
Congrats, you were the bigger Christmas nerd, which you already knew.
Yeah, and here's the thing, you would have realized, but you don't even follow me on Twitch. So, just thought I'd throw that one out there.
Hold on. Yep. I'll have to double check.
There's no excuses on this one. You don't follow me on Twitch.
Hold on. Edinar.
Yeah, nice save, by the way.
I'm looking.
Yeah.
I could have sworn I did, the other day.
No.
Apparently I didn't.
No, you did not.
What I did is I went to your channel to see if you were live because I knew you were having OBS issues. I was like, oh, he's not streaming. And then I didn't click the follow button.
Yeah, no. It's not like I've had this channel for 4 years.
Oh, it's not like you use it.
That is also true. But it's a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to get this in today because I think you're going to be at a AEW tomorrow, and then I'm going home to celebrate Thanksgiving with the family.
I was gonna say Christmas. You guys are a little early there.
My Christmas is early this year. It's early every year. I do Christmas on this year. I want to say it's the 14th of December, because we go to Florida for Christmas every year, so we do Christmas early.
Right.
So, anywho, how was your weekend?
It's been pretty good. I actually had Days of the Dead, which is a scary movie convention. Which you probably couldn't tell, based on the title. I did get a few things here. Hold on. This is kind of Christmas themed. He doesn't have his hat though.
God damn it. Really, we're gonna get on this? Okay. He showed a gremlin. Okay.
It's it's not a gremlin. It's a mogwai. It's Gizmo.
It's from Gremlins. It literally says Gremlins on it. Okay, now here's the thing. The joke is, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I'm right. If you say otherwise, you're wrong.
Uh-huh. See, I just stopped listening to you because I already know what your mom's take is on the Grinch, and then I can't even take anything your family says seriously
Oh
anymore.
yeah, no. My mom's crazy. My mom knows the Grinch movie is a Christmas movie, but doesn't think the Grinch song is a Christmas song.
You know, the song that plays on Christmas stations.
To me, that's batshit crazy. I don't think Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Just because a movie happens over a holiday time period does not mean it's a holiday or Christmas movie. So if that's it, Jaws 3, Christmas movie. Lethal Weapon, Christmas movie. Rocky 4, Christmas movie. LA Confidential, Christmas movie.
See, for me,
all the Harry Potter movies, Christmas movies.
For me, it's all about if it's a Christmas tradition, it falls in line with it being a Christmas movie. Basically, 99% of what you just listed, I don't know anyone who actually watches that around the holidays.
Yeah, but
Die Hard and Gremlins are two of the more well-known ones that are within that space.
But by those reasons, anything can be a Christmas movie. Like Anchorman could be a Christmas movie. If you watch it every Christmas Eve, then it's a Christmas movie. Like,
but there's enough themes in there.
I don't know.
But anyways,
right,
my week's been good. I ended up cosplaying as the Fiend again, which is, you know, I didn't have my smaller frames on Halloween, so I couldn't really wear my mask. But I was in my mask pretty much, not like all the time, because, you know, it gets kind of hot underneath the mask there. But it was a good time. I ended up going for 2 days. Actually got in for free because one of my buddies is a vendor. So he helped me out there. And he's actually the one I got Gizmo from. But, you know, it's been a good week. It's been busy between, you know, getting, you know, Tavern Tales up there. And also, you know, it's a holiday week, so work has been very chaotic. But, you know, we're here to talk about Overwatch. So there's a couple things going on. For starters, and this isn't even a notes, it is a free-to-play week. This is going through, I think, next Wednesday, which basically means next week it will probably be half off, as is tradition.
Or are you thinking of making a purchase?
Nope. I have enough as is, Ed.
You're not gonna go for that 9. You're not gonna go for double-digit accounts.
I don't think so. And besides, I need to get all of those other Battleground accounts up to 5k as soon as I hit 5k on my primary account.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you know. So that's too much of a distraction. So, you know, it's a good opportunity if, you know, you have people who haven't tried it yet or whatever, to go check it out or try it on, like, a new platform. All of that good stuff. But let's talk about the news that is more important. So for starters, I was, you know, kind of browsing Reddit, you know, that cesspool that we're always talking about. And for once, Ed, there was actually a legit good post that had quality information in it. And it dealt a lot with visuals in regards to character hitboxes. So this post was from the Reddit user Spadler097, who's basically like detailing each character's hitbox, and it was using a workshop mode as well as another script. So Spadler was basically able to, you know, do a series of images as well as GIFs to basically show each character where they'd been hit, and it would like use green dots to kind of like visualize what the actual hitbox was. And, you know, the animation should help, you know, give players kind of like a more accurate account of, you know, where they need to be hidden in order to deal damage to said target. Now, you know, it's important to note, like, this is not like a playable workshop mode, but the amount of work that had to have gone into this just to do it for, like, the entire Overwatch hero pool is absolutely substantial, and, you know, he got a lot of praise on Reddit based on, you know, the work that he did. So it was kind of cool visualizing just like what all the like head hitboxes is, and realizing how stupid some of them are compared to others, especially in the case of Hanzo being pretty noticeably non-existent almost.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is really cool. I Does it matter? Like to the average Overwatch fan, it means truly nothing. It's not going to affect your gameplay. Um, with pros and like people higher up, they may be able to benefit from this a little, but if anything, this could benefit Widowmakers or Hanzos the most. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's super cool, and this is a lot of work, and I'm glad we have it. I just question what it actually means.
Well, it definitely made me understand why I die so much or get sniped so much as in Yada because of his hitbox being fairly larger than life.
Hmm. I'm just yeah, I'm looking over it, and the one that was funny to me was just Wrecking Ball because it was like identical.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's cool. I'm glad workshop mode is out there for us to do stuff like this, but man, I can only imagine how long it took this guy to do this.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of insane.
Yeah, especially when it was using like frozen models as well as like there was like some other like other types of like CC models he was using as well on top of that, to get like the different like waves around the bodies, and whatnot. So outside of that, we also had a recent kind of like a sit down at the University of Southern California, and our deaf and savior Papa Jeffrey Cap was on hand to talk about a couple of different things. He primarily was touching up on events in Overwatch 2 as well as the PTR. So, what is going on with events when it comes to the, and I'm going to air quote this, sequel? So, basically, we've kind of seen how tireless players have been in regards to the current event cycle, just because like a lot of it is kind of just being recycled with nothing new being added outside of the cosmetics. So Kaplan did note that the Blizzard team is going to start rethinking the event calendar and possibly retire some of the events that are currently known within the game. So basically, with this, he was referring to the rule of thirds, so we can expect like a third, like new events, a third that are relatively the same, and maybe a third that are going to see some improvements in regards to the sequel. Now, what's going to be interesting, Ed, is in the event of them retiring something, what is that going to mean for the skins that are involved with said specific time frame? Are those just going to be vaulted? Are we going to see them just at a baseline price whenever an event rolls around? Like, how do you think they're going to handle something like that?
I mean, I don't see them getting rid of an event for a major holiday. So what I think of when they're going to get rid of an event, maybe they get rid of Maze Snowball, whatever, Maze Yeti Hunt or whatever, and get something completely different. Because they're not going to not have like a Christmas event. They're not going to not have a Halloween event. The summer games in Lucio Ball are crazy popular.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing is maybe some of those, if they do get rid of some of those things, like maybe the Capture the Flag one, they come around during the was it the anniversary event where all the skins are available.
Right.
Like maybe it's available for purchase that one time. Like one time a year you can get it, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because, outside of the anniversary event, you can only get the skins one time a year.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they just do something like that. But I don't know. It will be interesting to see what kind of events they bring and what kind of events they have. Because, I mean, you don't want to have like a big event like this once a month. because then it just lose all the special feeling. You only really want like 4 a year, 4 to 5 maybe, because they have to last like 3 weeks, 2 3 weeks, and you don't want to have them every like have a break for 2 3 weeks, have another one and stuff like that. You start to get fewer cool skins, like it's more spread out. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I do think something needs to change with the events because they're not playable like really much anymore. The only one that is the Junkenstein's Revenge, and that's because it's really easy to knock out your arcade loot boxes.
So
The rest,
also,
not so much.
right, also during the Q&A, Kaplan had noted that the recent lack of PTR updates has been due to there just not being enough players using the test realm long enough to get proper data. So honestly, not surprised here. Like that's always kind of been a common thing. And Kaplan basically said like, you know, people are basically like coming in to check out if there's a change to a hero, and they're really only trying it out for like a match, basically. Like I know he said like 6 minutes during the Q&A here, and you know that's basically it for them. So like there's this whole thing with the way that players treat the PTR, and like if they don't get who they want to test out, like locked in, then they're just going to leave and just re-queue again. And with PTR you have such a skewered or just declined amount of players overall. And, one of the things that's kind of hindering the PTR is the fact that it is only available on PC. Like, I know there's a lot of discussion about, like, well, will PTR ever be seen on console, which is probably not going to happen. But the biggest thing I took away from this Q&A is the fact that Kaplan noted that half of the player base actually plays on console, which I did not expect at all.
It does not surprise me in the slightest, though, because when you really think about it, what is more prevalent out there for people? Consoles or, actual computers, PC? Like, there's more consoles out there for gamers than there's like PCs that are used for gaming.
I guess for me, part of it is just the fact that we don't really hear a whole lot from that side of the player base.
Well, that's because they're just used to it. Like, really, they're just used to it. Like, you have a different mentality when you're playing in a console than when you're on PC. Like, PC is more of the competitive nature of a video game.
Mm-hmm.
Over anything on a console, with the exception of sporting games and Super Mario.
Right, that's not to say that we haven't seen competitive scenes over time with Overwatch, because we've seen things like Overguard. We've also seen console-specific tournaments popping up here and there, just not as prevalent or as common as what we're seeing with the PC side of things.
Mm-hmm. And it's how do I say this nicely? It's one of those things where there's more skill on a PC than there is on a console. You can aim better. Your movements are more crisp, more clean on a PC than on a controller. It is what it is. So that's why you get more competitive on the PC, is because you get the more skilled players playing on the PC over the consoles. So, the other thing you have to take into account with all this is why there will never be a PTR is it's not like it's up to them really to put it on there. It's up to PlayStation and Microsoft. And that's a whole different, or Nintendo. And that's a whole different, bag of worms you just do not want to open. So
outside of that, it's pretty much it for general Overwatch news. Haven't really seen any new merch sales popping up, but Black Friday is this week, so I'm sure there's deals right now on the gear store. Yep. I know a lot of the Overwatch League jerseys are on sale this week, which obviously we were talking about over
Yeah,
Discord.
I was gonna buy one, and every single time I went to go, they're out of all my sizes. They're basically just getting rid of their inventory from this year.
Hmm.
Um, so now I just have to save up for a certain jersey that we'll talk about a little bit later on, which is mandatory that I buy.
Can't imagine what jersey it could be for another return for a player who is going to the Pacific or
Yes.
Northwest Pacific. Northwest Pacific. Yeah, I think
hmm
that's the
Um,
terminology. Yeah, we'll go with that.
but yeah, no, they're doing their Black Friday sale, and we won't hear a lot of information because one, it's the holiday,
Hmm.
so it's always slow around the holiday, and they're going to be coming up with the holiday patch because that will be coming up probably in 2 weeks. I think the past like 2 years they released it right around like the 13th of December, so we'll start getting teases or leaks or stuff like that in about a week and a half, and then we'll get like the patch live dropped and stuff like that. So don't expect any general Overwatch news probably for the next week and a half.
Right, and you guys still have like another like 5 or 6 days to wrap up the Mercy Recall Challenge as well.
hmm
So if you haven't done that, make sure you get your 9 wins in for the week, for that event. So let's go ahead and shift gears and see what's going on inside the Path of Pro and the Overwatch League. So a couple of different things before we actually jump into the roster changes, which we got another kind of like streamline of them. They've kind of like died down quite a bit actually compared to like what they were initially. But for starters, we do know that Dallas Fuel DPS AKM basically announced like he is going to retire following the 2020 Overwatch League season. And, basically the only thing keeping him around, obviously, is, the love of competition. So, he's going to ride out the rest of his contract with the Dallas Fuel. But, Ed, with the additions of Decay, of Doa alongside what honestly is a pretty bloated DPS line on the Fuel, it really makes you wonder how much AKM we are actually going to see being played on stage. So, at the end of the day, like, what do you think AKM's legacy is going to be to Overwatch?
Shit, Genji blades. Like AKM was fine. He was like kind of like a spark for them in season one when he got brought in.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I remember when they did bring him in, a lot of people were like, "Really?
Right.
All right, like we'll bring him in," because he was one of the first like major signings outside of the original like rosters, if memory serves me correctly. Like again, this was a while back. But he was one of the first major signings during the middle of the season. So, good. It was nice for him to come in, but yeah, he's not in that place now. He was known for like his soldier play, and soldier is crap right now. And then,
Mm-hmm.
you have Zachary, and then you have Taimu, and then okay, you had a platoon of those three. Well, then they went out and got two more DPS players to be the main starters, and then you still have Zachary and you still have Taimu. So it's like, all right, you're our number 4 or 5 DPS on the roster. Maybe he saw the writing on the wall, and his contract's up at the end of this year, and he'll just be like, you know what, go right off into the sunset. Because might as well. I mean, if they're gonna keep paying, yeah, might as well play it out this year and just ride the pine.
Maybe they'll transition him into a content creator role, and then he could just start bashing people and calling people out on Twitter.
No. I have met, I did meet AKM out at BlizzCon.
Mm-hmm.
Dude's very nice. He's a nice guy. Like, I don't know. It's unfortunate, but Dallas is going through one of the big turnovers in,
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch, and he's part of that crowd that's probably got to go real soon.
Yeah, he's definitely part of the old guard of Overwatch.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like at the end of the day, when you're thinking of AKM, you're only gonna think of one of two things. One you mentioned with the AKM Dragon Blades, which he fully embraced the meme of that. The other is obviously how prominent Rogue was as an EU powerhouse back in the early days of Overwatch. So for me, like, I remember when Rogue was brought back for the World Cup for Team France. This was, I think, last year. It was within the last 2 years. They basically brought Rogue back to compete as Team France. They actually made a pretty decent run in the World Cup. And, like, that was the last time that you were going to see all of those players competing on the same team together. And they had relatively good results. So if AKM is somehow able to manifest or just mirror that type of swan song that we saw from France at the World Cup as Team Rogue, maybe we could be in for a treat, but it's just like, it's so hard right now to have a grasp of knowing where are 3/5 of this DPS line going to be brought in on what role. Because, right now it's not like a great outlook if you are Taimu, Zachary, or AKM in this case. You have to feel like they're going to be playing second fiddle to Decay, to Doha, who they really went out of their way to acquire during the offseason.
Taimu probably. Zachary, I don't think so. Because if there's one kind of like constant with a lot of these teams, they're getting numerous DPS players. And not like, hey, we're going to just get this person in case. It's no, you're going out and getting legit their number 3 DPS. Because you're seeing the rotating the hero pools and stuff like that. You want as much flexibility, and flexibility is going to be huge. So Zachary, I still think has a place on this team, and he'll still be part of scrims and all that stuff. But Taimu's on his way out. So
another member of the Elder Guard.
On
that front. So we're going from Dallas, and now we are moving into Houston. So we got a little bit of Outlaws news, and that is that they have turned to a certain, force, formerly of Vancouver Titans, now Houston Outlaws, in Hureg, joining the coaching staff. So, of course, Hureg, former DPS player on the Titans, runaway prior to that, so he'll be reuniting with Harsha and Repel on the Houston Outlaws after they were all with the Titans here in the 2019 season. So, obviously, Ed, it's kind of been like a whirlwind offseason for the Outlaws, between the franchise sale actually getting finalized, to them making some key acquisitions at the off-tank position, as well as shoring up their DPS line, added another flex support to this lineup as well. And this is a team that, they are set to host 2 homestand events during the 2020 Overwatch League season. So we've kind of seen mixed success in regards to former players turned coaches, whether it is in esports or otherwise. So what do you think was the reason behind this move? Is it just the fact that he's very familiar with the Koreans on this team? Is it more for translation purposes? Is that the primary driving force for bringing Hurrig in here?
No, I think he has a lot of he brings a lot to everyone. You have certain players who scream, I'm going to coach, I'm going to coach, I'm going to coach when they're done. And who Red kind of screams at. Now, it helps that Harsha is their head coach.
It also kind of helps that he's been benched for so long that he's behind the scenes most of the time anyway.
Yes. So, I mean, and he's, why not bring him in as a coach? He already has a visa, so he can be here. He can work with the Koreans and be a translator. He can do all of that stuff. So why not bring him in? Because it's not like assistant coaches probably paid that much in the Overwatch League. So it just kind of makes sense, for them to bring him in. So, if there was a team that I was going to guess where Hureg was going to go when he was looking for a team to coach as a coach, it would have been the Houston Outlaws. Just mainly because of the Harsha thing. It just made too much sense that Harsha leaves Vancouver needs assistant coaches and one of its players is looking for a coaching position.
Well, we thought the same thing about Void going to the Justice, and that never manifested.
Valid, but he also signed with another team.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have just offered more money.
Could be. Well, speaking of not money, let's talk about some of our roster moves. Let's start with a team who's not really known for moving a lot of cash, unless it's selling players off. That, of course, being Boston Uprising. So we got 2 sign-ins for Boston this past week since our last episode. So they went out and they picked up Munchkin as a free agent, former Seoul Dynasty DPS player, primarily known for hit scan, more so on Tracer. But, from time to time we did see him play Zarya when we were in the 3-3 meta. Then he also went out and they signed Brussin, who is a long-standing EU Contenders player, who most recently had tanked on Angry Titans. He is a flex tank. But, he's been on kind of like middle-of-the-pack teams before Angry Titans. I know he was on Young and Beautiful. But, he's had some pretty decent work in the World Cup as the off-tank for Team Netherlands. So, Boston getting a little bit more firepower. Still, though, it's just like... I feel like every season with Boston, we kind of, circle around the same things. Like, our expectations aren't set very high. But, Boston just has a way of either kind of, falling under the radar, or they have, this breakout stage... but, now that those are gone, who knows what we are going to see in 2020.
Yeah, I have no idea what to expect from this team. They signed Munchkin, which when I first saw that, I'm like, wait, didn't he retire?
Mm-hmm.
And he did. And then they signed Bruisin, and I will not pronounce it any other way. His name's Bruisin. I'm pissed he didn't go to Paris. Because then you could have the duo of they're cruising for a bruising.
Oh my god.
Come on.
That one wasn't bad.
That was a good one. Because it could be like the Bash Brothers from Mighty Ducks. And they could forearm bash and be cruising.
I love how almost every episode lately we end up circling back to Mighty Ducks.
That's not a bad thing. Yeah, but I don't even know if these guys will be the starters. I don't think Munchkin will be starting. They're probably going to be starting Jerry and Color Hex. And then I don't know if Bruisin's going to be the starting flex tank. So.
Well, I mean, we thought they were just going to promote Punk.
They probably wanted too much.
That never happened.
Yeah. They still have time. They only have 9 players on the team. So, it's still possible.
That's if they use Movin.
Yeah,
he's technically on. He's still part of the team because he's on 2-way.
Yep, and then he is the only player from the Netherlands
in
the Overwatch League, and he's the first from the Netherlands, if memory serves me correct. But yeah, this is, they couldn't have asked for a more Boston move from Boston. So, yeah, you know what? It's not actually a bad move for them. It gives them depth. Munchkin brings can pair up with Fusion and kind of be the old men on the team. They can be the wise veterans on the team that lead them. So, we'll see what Boston does, but I still don't expect much from them.
Yeah, I do want to note, I'm pretty sure we covered Mayhem's runaway sign-ins last week, so we can skip that.
We did cover...
Because I remember we were talking about Kuki, which also happened around the same time. So, let's go ahead and let's see what New York's up to. So, what's going on over there?
All right, so over in New York, one thing we did talk about last week, when we were talking about them signing Hotba, was well, what are they going to do with Bianca? Well,
Mm-hmm.
they promoted Bianca from XL2 Academy up to the main roster, and part of me believes that he will be the starting off tank over Hotba, because he is pretty darn good. So that's actually awesome for them. I like this call up. Um, you know, so they did that. Then they also signed Mandu, who is from, if memory serves correctly, O2 Blast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's a main support. So you're bringing in a backup, support player, which is something New York did need, because I think they only had 2 on the roster,
Yeah.
and then possibly Pine. I mean, Pine was your in case of emergency break glass, throw Pine in to play support.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they needed a new support player onto that team. So it was a good signing.
Yeah, like I only remember Mondu playing Lucio, which is why this is kind of weird. I know prior to O2 Bless, he was also on WGS Armament. I don't know, like that's been a name that's kind of been circling around for a while, but like it just seems like just now he's getting his break. But I am happy to see Bianca did get the call up, as we had speculated for a while at this point.
I will also say Mandu is underage.
Okay.
So, and this is according to Liquipedia, is he does not turn 18 till June 3rd. So
like, basically like 4 months into the season.
Yeah. So he's a sign and stash type of player, which is weird. Like, it's not something you expect the New York Excelsior to do, but they kind of have to because they don't have a contenders team to stash anyone on.
Yeah, so that basically means we'll primarily still have Jonak and Animo then.
Yeah.
Like they don't have a backup unless they do flex Pine over.
Pine is the backup. Yeah, Pine is the backup.
For now.
That's weird.
Yeah. So 3. So with Mondu, that puts him up to 10. Looks like on their roster.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're at 10. So I mean, they still have room to sign 2 more, which I could probably see them signing 2 more.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe another tank, maybe another support. I don't know.
Right. But yeah, I guess like really the key thing to watch for New York is just how the front line is going to perform with the absence of Meko on that roster. So it's going to be a lot on Hotba and Bianca on that point.
Or Nene.
Or potentially Nene.
Because
there is always that flex option, and it wouldn't be the first time we've seen someone flex back to a prior role.
Yeah, and especially if they roll Zarya.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would not be surprised in the slightest if they put Nene in there, because Nene can easily switch over if need be over to like a Diva, Roadhog, something like that. So, yeah, definitely a big move. But that's all from the New York Excelsior.
Yeah, so next up, we had one sign-in from Paris Eternal, who picked up former Hanjo Spark main tank No Smite, who, for a while there was competing for the Spark Academy team, Billy Gaming. I know he was there for I want to say it was 4 or 5 months leading up to that, and a lot of that was just due to the fact that, Gushway obviously was seeing the bulk of the playtime. No Smite kind of started at the beginning of the season, and then they gave the nod to Gushway at that point, so he gets his return this time on Paris Eternal. So another Korean pickup for them on that front, which, based on the other moves that we have seen from them, shouldn't be too surprising on that front. So he will be back up to Ben Best on this team. But
start.
Yeah, he could be started too. I'm looking at. I gotta
I'm
see.
assuming Hanbin will be their flex tank, because he's the only flex tank on the roster right
but
now.
he doesn't turn 18 until a couple of weeks after the season starts.
Yeah, so maybe they want to have, maybe Hanbin will play better with No Smite, being that they're both Korean and their
Hmm.
communication could be better.
Right.
I don't know. So,
There's basically two ways to look at this. So here are the options. We've been on the PTR. Like a lot of teams are running Orisa Reinhardt. So we could see double main tank coming out, which means you would field Ben Best as well as No Smite in this situation. In worst case scenario, if it's something else, you just throw in Nico, who played a tank prior, to fill in for the couple of weeks, and go on from there. So you have a couple of options that you can do. I don't know if one would be more ideal than the other. Again, that would kind of depend on what the meta is going to dictate at that point. But at least it doesn't leave you without someone to field in this situation.
yeah, I think they'll be fine, especially if it's only for like 2 weeks. I don't think they're going to be hurting that bad. If they have to run Nico or if they have to run double main tank, like we've seen with Orisa and Reinhardt. So I'm not too worried about it. And again, they still have room to sign people. So we 100% have not heard all of the signings. So we're gonna get stuff kind of trickling in. I mean, let's be real. You know who has an opportunity to get traded here? Bumper. Why not bring Bumper in? No.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's another team that people would rather see him go to because of the amount of disdain that they have for a certain main tank.
Mm-hmm. Which leads us into who we have next. So this is the controversial one. Well,
the second part is controversial.
The second part of it. So the Philadelphia Fusion, they signed Hisu from Runaway, and everyone was like shocked. Like when this first happened, Hisu is a darn good DPS player from South Korea. Now, it plays like Widowmaker, McCree, Ashe, and stuff like that. Now, Hishu is not of age yet, but will be in March. Like towards the end of March. So a month and a half into the season. Whatever. They have Carpe and EQO.
Okay, so that'd be, the fourth DPS on the team, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because they have Ivy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have Ivy as well. So Hishu is their like number 3-4 DPS. Then today they announced they signed ChipSa. Not Chipsogen, the old player from the Dallas Fuel. ChipSa, the
Hoy?
streamer.
ChipSa Hoy?
ChipSa Hoy. They signed ChipSa, the Doomfist one trick from Twitch, as their 5th DPS. Okay.
I recall other streamers who have gone pro.
Yes.
But they weren't one tricks.
And yeah, it's just no. I mean, no. Like, everyone's flipping out because, I mean, Jane in particular flipped out because he was like, this is a slap in the face to the tier 2 community, so on and so forth. All these people work really hard, la 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 la, and was kind of going off about it, and he was making good points about it. Like, all right, so the main comparison a lot of people are saying is Defran. Defran, though, was a pro player.
Well, before we actually get into that, that's not the first thing that he was starting to address. There was the elephant in the room in the fact that
his brother
is related to Christopher, who is part of the coaching staff. That was really what kind of sparked this entire conversation. And then, yes, he did touch up on a lot of the issues with ChipSa basically just completely skipping the path to pro. He doesn't really have he doesn't have scrim experience or anything like that. But Ed, please proceed.
So let's go over what ChipSa is. ChipSa is from all accounts,
Doomfist.
toxic, one trick, streamer, no real pro experience in 2+ years. Brother is a coach. Okay, that's what we know for sure. The comparison people are going is he's like Trenchfoot in chat says he's the dollar store DeFran. DeFran was a pro. He just didn't want to play pro. But he was good enough to be a pro. And all DeFran wanted to do was prove to people that he could and then get the F out. And that is exactly what he did. He's like, I'm good enough to be here, I'm out.
I mean, they threw an entire homecoming for him.
Yeah, like, he was signed to be the starter. ChipSa was signed to be the number 5 DPS. Now...
That's very low risk, though.
It's very low risk, but the thing is he still going to be streaming?
Okay, so, There's a couple of ways to look at this. Like, if I'm Fusion in this situation, you're like, okay, if Doomfist is meta, like, that's fine. Like, this is... We'll see how he works out, that's great. If it's not, he'll probably be still focusing on streaming, I would imagine, in this case. You know, I understand the viewpoint of... Okay, like, he doesn't really have a ton of scrim experience or anything like that. I mean, honestly, like, the last time I remember seeing ChipSa actually on the team was, like, back in, like, 2016. Like, I know he played with, like, Christopher and Fisher. Not the ex Dynasty Fisher from Netherlands? I can't remember what team, but anyways. You know, obviously he was one of the more overlooked DPS players out there, and I was back on the Chavs back in like early beta days or very early days of Overwatch.
Yeah, that was in November of 2016.
So it's been a while on that front.
And they were not good.
But you know, it's this whole thing kind of got blown up. And, you know, I know Jane has said a lot of shit in the past, calling people out for behavior on social media, in regards to, you know, certain individuals, and then he's not being very constructive, like, in regards to, like the Path to Pro scene. So, like, I don't quite get what point he was trying to make. Obviously, we know that the Path to Pro, Tier 2, Tier 3, have their fair share of issues, like the economy and the infrastructure. Like, the money's just not there, and, you know, people are looking on how to, you know, make a career out of Overwatch, and a lot of them just aren't getting paid, whether it is from Blizzard, from these third-party, you know, tournaments, which does include the specific brand that Jane promotes, which is a whole other can of worms. But it just seems like right now everyone is just freaking out, and they're focusing on probably areas that they shouldn't be focusing on. It's just like everyone just needs to take a step back and breathe. Like, ChipSa wasn't signed to just be a starter. You know, more than likely, he's gonna be on the bench. He's gonna focus on streams. If Doomfist becomes meta, they'll see how it works out. But, like, this isn't the first instance that we've seen a streamer or someone basically jump the gun ahead of people. Like, we've had players who got picked up off of ladder. Hell, Jonak, straight from ladder. Krillin, straight from ladder. You've had players speedrun the Path to Pro. You know, I'm 37. Like, it's not like this is something that hasn't happened before, and people are just making such a big deal about it. And, you know, if you're the Fusion, like, what do you honestly have to lose in this situation? Sure, like, you look at the DPS, they do have a lot of flexibility already, and ChipSa brains the one specific hero that could become meta that they do not have in their wheelhouse right now. So, I don't understand what the big deal is, or why everyone is making such a fuss over it.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, I hear the argument that he could be good for the brand and he could bring in people. He's not a big enough streamer. He's not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I looked it up. He has 600 subs on Twitch. He averages 1.6 thousand viewers. Which, I mean, granted, it's big, but that's sideshow.
Yeah, it's a footnote compared to some of the other streamer turned pros.
Exactly. You're not bringing in the Defran people. You're not bringing in XQC fan. Like, you're not on that same level. We also know, and this was brought up in Jane's 12-minute rant, it's that they had Kefri and Emong as content creators signed with Philadelphia Fusion to be content creators for Fusion. And they got rid of them because they did not like the content creators program. Like, they didn't feel it was worthwhile. So will ChipSa even be able to stream? Do they want him to stream? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't see it. And you cannot tell me that ChipSa is the best Doomfist player they could have got. Because the whole argument that he could bring in more viewers and more fans to the team is invalid in my mind. Mm-hmm. Because he is not that level of streamer yet. So it's I don't know. It's both sides are valid. You can make an argument in both ways. Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I guess we won't know until we actually see what's going to happen. But my money is that he is not going to see the light of day on stage.
Probably not. But I really feel like at the end of the day, a lot of it just kind of stemmed from the way that the situation was handled on social media. There's a lot of aggression behind some of the tweets and the banter that was kind of like back and forth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've just seen what Spider says. He says his best point was that they brought him on, use his stream base, if they actually plan on playing him, then that stream audience goes away.
Mm-hmm. Right. Look at what happened with Siegel. Mm-hmm. Siegel's stream was non-existent when he played with Dallas. Mm-hmm. I think he said he didn't even log on to Twitch to stream for 5 months straight because you're not able to because you're scrimming 10 hours a day.
Right, and for Siegel, I mean, let's be real here. Money-wise comparison, obviously that was a bigger blow to him than it would be for ChipSa in this case.
Oh yeah, I mean, ChipSa's average viewers was 1.6 and Siegel's was well over 5. Mm-hmm. So it's if it looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, then it's effing duck. That is what is going on here. Let's look at all the fishy things going on, and it all spells out to be fishy. Like we said, streamer signed straight to the team. Brother is a coach. One trick. Like, there are some fishy things going on with all of this. But will we ever get to the bottom of it? No.
Yeah, and, to that point, too, it's like, I know, I'm trying to remember, I think it was Tucker, who was talking on social media about, like, the situation, and, he was saying, like, initially, like, he didn't even know that the two were related, and Christopher told him, like, it might be true, it might not be, but basically what was said was...
Which actually says horrible things about the organization.
Basically, yeah.
If you sign somebody, and you don't even realize that the person you're signing has a family member who works for you, and not only works for you, works for the same team. Right. That's just shit scouting.
Right. Yeah.
Which just proves they didn't even scout him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was basically, he basically just said, like, he didn't know that they were related. And Christopher basically told them to take, like, some extra time to really think, to mull it over. And they still ended up signing ChipSa. But, what's going to happen from this, who knows, but, I never would have thought that a ChipSa sign was going to be the one thing to kind of, spark such a big topic across multitudes of the competitive scene. I did not expect my phone to be blown up like it was today, or to have as many discussions.
Dante also went off on Jane about it. Mainly calling him out for being a hypocrite because of the World Cup team. And at first, I semi-agreed with Dante about it, but then I'm like, honestly, no. They're two different things. There's the Overwatch League, and then there's the World Cup. Most of the Overwatch League players could give two shits about the Overwatch League or the World Cup. I mean, a lot of them just don't even go to it.
Right.
And it's more just for fun. It's not like a professional thing. It's more, you want popularity based. That is why we literally vote on people to handle the social media for the teams. We vote on the social media, the manager, the coach. We vote on that kind of stuff because, you know what? We just want something entertaining and we want fun stuff. And truly, we want good matches, but we want more entertaining things to happen. Whereas in the Overwatch League, we want good competition. So there's a difference between getting streamers or more popular players on a World Cup team than getting popular players on an Overwatch League team.
Right.
So, but this also is a team that we are rumored and hopeful, at least I am, because it's the perfect fit, but I hope Bumper gets traded to Fusion. It fits so well.
The only thing I really hate for the spot that the Fusion are in right now is the fact that anytime they do anything, this is always the first thing that is said to them. Is, hey, what about that main tank situation? And I feel like we're at this point now where if something isn't done in this off-season, you are going to have people that will abandon ship and just stop caring at this point because they're just getting so fed up to this point about them just not interested in it. Sure, they go out and they have 5 DPS on their roster. They don't have another main tank yet, so I would love to see Bumper, should that happen, but at the same time, I'm very hesitant because of the fact that that would only leave the Titans with their newest acquisition.
I just want to point out the Philadelphia Fusion have 6 DPS.
Is it 6?
Snillo. 2-way contract. So if they have Snillo on a 2-way, they have a full roster.
They do.
So
I doubt Snillow's gonna play.
I know, but right now he's on a 2-way contract. So he takes up a roster spot at this point.
Right.
So they have 12 people on their team. So they have a full roster. If they were to trade for Bumper, you could easily just be like, Snillo, you're on the contenders team. Deal with it. We have 5 other DPS. Sorry, we have 4 DPS in the streamer.
Well, they would have to release someone, because 2-way counts as part of the 12-man.
And they can get rid of his 2-way contract, though.
That would be a dick move.
You mean signing a streamer over everyone else who can play Doomfist better?
I don't think everyone can play Doomfist better.
There's probably a lot of people that can.
Maybe. I don't know. Remains to be seen.
Yeah.
You don't know until they field him. That's honestly what it comes down to. We just
which
don't
remains
know.
To be seen.
We are going
ChipSa.
into the unknown.
Yes.
To quote
but the reason Bumper can be traded to the Philadelphia Fusion is why, Totem?
Because they have 12 players. that is a fact. That is a fact. You cannot deny that. That and the fact that, the Titans went out, and, all those rumors that were circling about Fisher returning to the Overwatch League. 100% true. Fisher coming back on the Titans, his fourth team. Will they make it a year? I don't know. That's the big question. So, you got Fisher coming back. The ultimate wild card, Ed. How long is it gonna be?
I mean, he's played on fewer teams than Rascal.
Yeah?
Like...
Do you think he makes it a season?
Yeah, I do. I actually think he does. Because there was... Alright, obviously we know why he got out of the Spitfire, because he just wasn't playing. I don't blame him for that. He went to the Gladiators.
Right.
There was, granted, he was the MVP runner-up. Fisher didn't fit with that team. Fisher needed to be on an all-Korean team. Because I remember when he was on Gladiators, he was upset about the practice style. He didn't think they were taking it seriously. And then he went to Seoul. And everyone's like, oh, this is going to be awesome. But then when you realize it, he plays the complete opposite style that Seoul Dynasty played.
Right. Which is what my biggest concern was at the time of signing there.
Mm-hmm. So he was put into a situation, yes, with an all-Korean team, but he was in an all-Korean team that didn't play a play style that fit him. Plus, let's be real, the whole Seoul Dynasty coaching the first half of the year was just janky as hell. There was just odd switching outs. We'd switch up 3 people here, 2 people here, 3 people there, put in 6 new people. No one knew who was playing. It was just a giant cluster.
But at least they didn't sub someone in accidentally.
Mm-hmm. So he retired. He's just like, you know what, I'm done with this. Mm-hmm. Whatever. I can get past that. I really can. If he's just like, you know what, I'm done with all of this. Now, I think he's going to be going to a team that shows a little bit more of his play style. Mainly because they played with Bumper and it worked. And that Fisher play style is now, super aggressive.
So I guess the follow-up question to that would be, can other teams replicate Bumper at main tank if Bumper signs elsewhere?
No. And I think that's the reason. I touched on this a little bit when the rumor first swirled is, yes, Bumper and Fisher are both super aggressive and crazy. But Fisher is more of a, I'm going to be super, aggressive at the other team. Mm-hmm. Bumper is more
I'm going in.
Have you ever seen that It's Always Sunny episode where they're all in the van and Charlie's dressed up as a cowboy and he's like, wild card bitches, and then jumps out the back of the van? That's Bumper. That is exactly what Bumper is. What other team can have their main tank on purpose charge someone off the map just because he can? There's aggressive and then there's stupid aggressive, and Bumper played stupid aggressive. Mm-hmm. Now, it worked with the team they were on because they had played together for so long. Now that they have more of a controlled aggressive with Fisher, I actually think they'll do a lot better. So that's why I think this signing makes so much sense for them. And you know what? There's going to be more signings from the Titans because I think they only have 7 people. I want to say they only have 7. They might have 8 with Bumper, but at this point, I'm already kind of planning on Bumper.
It's 8 currently.
Okay. And then they're probably going to be signing Jae-Hong. So, yeah, Titans are doing some good things. They're definitely the team that, well, one, we haven't really heard anything except for getting rid of Tizzy, Rappel, and Hooray. They're backup players. And then signing a new main tank. but they're gonna have other signings. So I'm very interested to see how one of the top teams actually improves over last year.
Right. And in regards to Fisher, I do want to note, like, if you're looking at his career, and yes, I know, like, this is his fourth team in the Overwatch League. There's kind of been like a little bit of a trend going on where each year or each team, that tenure ends up getting longer every time. So, he started with London. He was only there for, like 3 months. Gets traded to the Gladiators. He was there for like 6 months. Then he was with the Dynasty, and he was with them for 10 months under contract. So I'm really thinking, like, this could be the time he actually makes it through a season. And I really hope that, because I still feel like we haven't quite seen the end of his journey in the Overwatch League. Fisher, he's still regarded as one of the best main tanks out there. And, Titans seem very excited to have them on their roster. What it's going to mean for Bumper kind of still remains to be seen. But I really do like this fit more so the Titans as opposed to the initial signing when he was with the Dynasty in the last season. But at the end of the day, it's just a matter of, well, are they going to get a backup? Or are they going to ship out a Bumper at this point? So we'll have to wait and see on that front. But, it's only a matter of time. Like, I really hope that Jahan rumor is also true. Just because that means I will have to get a Jahan jersey. Because I don't have one yet. And I don't have one for... I have a normal Dynasty one, and then I have a Bumper Titans jersey. So it's like, where do I go from here?
I have my Fissure Dynasty jersey, and then I will be buying a Fissure Titans jersey now.
Mm-hmm. So if Bumper signs elsewhere, I'll probably have to buy whatever team that is going to be.
What if it's the Outlaws? Yep. What if it's the Washington Justice?
Yeah, well, you know what? With all the other Outlaw signings, who knows anymore at this point? They've already taken like 3 pieces of the Titans.
And they've actually are rumored to be getting a new main support. Have you seen that report?
No.
Jackson.
Okay.
Which would be...
Who was bought out of his contract.
Which is, if they get Jackson to be their main support, that team is effing scary. Like, that would be a scary, scary team. That hurts.
Remains to be seen. But let's actually talk about the notes at this point. So we have 2 teams. I would say one of them isn't quite locked in, because I highly doubt they're going to enter 2020 with only 8 players. But we have the Dragons, who have their 12-man roster set for the 2020 season. But before we talk about them, Ed, let's talk about London, who basically came out, they had like their whole unveiling video. So gone are, some pretty staple players of, Gesture, Prophet, both of them are on the Dynasty at this point. Birdring is on the Gladiators. Bedosian's gone. So the sole remaining player from the 2019 season is Krillin, the ladder hero. So thus far the team has unveiled 8 players on their roster. But, it seems like there could be some more signings in the works. We'll have to see what shapes out of there. But London have turned to LGE. He was main tank J-Mac. So he'll be on the front line there. And, this is a player who had won consecutive Contenders China titles with LGE. And then he'll be paired with Bernard from Fusion University. That signing was already known prior, as well as, Fuse, who was their main support. So looking at the DPS line, they have signed Runaway DPS Shui, as well as Genji DPS Glister. So we did not get the promotion on Dynasty there, which I was kind of bumped with, but, it is what it is. And then joining Krillin on the support line, they also picked up another Dynasty member, that being Hylie, for another flex support option. So we'll have Krillin, Hylie, and Fuse for the support line. And also Sanguinar, who was from like the Gen G sister team Gen B. So all of those were kind of like hinted at prior. Now they're all official. So we got 2 tanks, 2 DPS, and 4 support thus far for London Light, as some people are called them, or Budget Spitfire, what have you. But
Florida Mayhem.
I had to say, like, it does kind of scream early Mayhem from last year, where it feels like we're picking up a lot of these unknown players and seeing if it sticks.
Yeah, it's, I look over this roster and I'm like, who?
Like, Bernard's probably the most notable player on this team.
Yeah, I mean,
based with name
Bernard
value.
or Hylie, but just because Hylie was on an Overwatch League team last year, not because of his he's so good. It's just he was an Overwatch player last year. This is
that's a thing that happened.
Yeah. The Spitfire sign people will go with that. Yeah, that's about all we can say about this roster, because it is. It's Mayhem 2.0. It's Spitfire Light. It's a team where you're just like, they're just waiting to see. They have made good money the first 2 seasons. They're going to take a season off and assess how the geolocation works and whether it's feasible for them to be spending a bunch of money or not, because they're in a location where they have to probably do the most amount of traveling. So like them in Paris, they have to travel between the US and China and South Korea and all that stuff, and then back to Europe. So it will be interesting to see what they do, but yeah, this is not looking good for the Spitfire. And they're probably going to sign. I would hope they sign at least 2 more people. You need a backup. You need a backup tank and a backup DPS player.
On that note, I do know. Speaking of Runaway, their off tank is LFT. QOQ is looking for a team. He recently departed as of the 21st of November. So he's eligible. He's 19. Maybe we'll be here. QOQ. Yeah, they're Diva player. Zarya, for that matter. But I would not be surprised to see if he gets signed here in the upcoming week. So still a lot of relatively unknown players on London. But that basically screams to me that they just did not have the confidence in that old guard from the inaugural season anymore to be able to get the job done. So it's basically like a complete overhaul at this point, outside of Krillin, who has kind of been like their golden child, so to speak, waiting in the wings on the bench at this point. So while there is a lot of unknown with London, we actually got a better picture of the Shanghai Dragons, seeing as they do have 12 players on their roster for the 2020 season. So they've added 4 players over this past week. So their newest acquisitions are main tank Stand One, or is it Stand-In? I can't remember how they pronounce it. Whatever. They also picked up Void at off tank. They signed Lip, who is a DPS player, and they also picked up Runaway main support Li Jaegon, who I am really excited about. He is one of the better environmental kill Lucios in the game, so I cannot wait to see him in play. I remember San basically kind of was pushed to the forefront after he acted as a sub on Team Envy, and that's kind of what got him noticed in regards to getting picked up by the Gladiators Legion at that point, and that was kind of back in July. He's actually the only main tank listed on the Shanghai roster right now.
Yep.
So that's... I don't know how I feel about that. Like,
Yeah.
we'll have to wait to see how that goes. But without Gamsu, there's definitely big shoes to fill on this team. So I really want to know, like, who's going to be the leader on this team at this point, with all of these new faces. But you also got like Lip, who was on Blossom. That was a team that ran GC Busan back when they were Royal Road in Apex back in like 2017. But same with like Lee Jae-gon, he's like the only main support. But like I feel a lot safer with that role, kind of like locked up over main tank at this point.
Yeah, because like you can say main support, but like you could throw Luffy on Moira and Izayaki on the flex support and be just fine if need be. There's a little bit more leeway there. But yeah, like Stand One as the only main tank is definitely a question. Now, there is the rumors, and I'm gonna keep bringing up his name, but there were scrim screenshots taken of Bumper playing with the Shanghai Dragons.
Okay.
In scrims. So the big rumor is that Bumper might get traded to Shanghai.
Then who do they get rid of? They have three off tanks. Like
I think Envy was the one that they're talking of getting rid of. But they could possibly send Envy back to the Titans as a backup, because as a backup flex tank.
Okay.
Because they don't really have backups in Vancouver.
No.
So they have no backup supports, no backup tanks. So I think the Titans would be fine with Envy. Envy is a very capable backup flex tank, but then you get Bumper and Void in there as your tank line, and then you have Stand One and Gaguri as your backup tanks, and then you're good to go there. You got the DPS to be aggressive. This is a team you did ask what team out here could maybe deal with Bumper's aggressiveness. Shanghai is semi-built for this. Because, Lee Jae-gong is, like you said, environmental, Lucio's, a lot of Lucio's can play very aggressively.
Some just feed less than others.
Yep. And then you have Fleta and Ding and DM on DPS, and they're very aggressive DPS players. So you could get an aggressive team out of this with Bumper. But yeah, as it stands right now, the main tank position is probably the biggest worry, of the team.
Well, you know what, Ed? It's not going to be too long before we actually get to see this team in play. We got that Shanghai Invitational coming up at the end of the week, actually. So we'll get to see all of the Chinese teams compete in show matches, so to speak. So hopefully, I really hope we get English VODs for that. Because that's coming up on... I think on Sunday is when it is.
Yeah.
But, it starts at, midnight, so... That's gonna be a thing. But we'll definitely try to check that out, and maybe we can talk about it a bit next week, assuming that VODs are available, because, you know how it is with the Chinese streams. They're not always easy to access for us on that front, so hopefully we can find something that is going to work there.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, those are really the only teams that have, announced, full rosters. It's getting weird, because... Right. Everyone has their rosters. They had to have at least 8 people on their team, and they're just not announcing rosters, and I can't think of why.
It also doesn't help, Ed, the fact that initial 2020 roster construction, or team needs, was it completely correct or up to date?
Yeah.
By how much we don't know, but if you're just looking at the knowns, Like, Boston right now has 7 players in contract. London, they have 8. New York haven't really announced, like, team options or anything. Like, I'm looking on Wikipedia. Like, I don't know how up to date that is, but, like, they have, like, 3 listed. Which doesn't seem right to me, but, like, Paris has quite a few. There's, like, 10 on their roster. Toronto.
Valiant have 8.
Toronto has, like, 9 at this point. Atlanta has, like, 4. That's another team that hasn't waived team options. So it's just, like, there's still a lot of unknowns, and we're just getting to this point now where it's like, okay, like, I really wanted to start doing division previews at the start of January, and I'm like, crap, we're at the end of November. Like, that's coming up pretty soon. I would hate to, like, plan all this stuff out and just be like, we don't know half the guys.
Yeah, no, it's getting frustrating at this point. These slow leaks, these drip leaks are infuriating.
Right.
Thank God the Spitfire are done with those stupid ass leaks or those teasers. Those were literally the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Right?
So, yeah, I guess that's kind of about it. It's been a really slow week.
Yeah.
Next week is probably going to be even slower.
That'll be fantastic. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do next week. We'll have to see.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, people aren't going to be really announcing stuff over the holiday.
No.
So, and Blizzard, for sure, is not releasing anything over the holiday.
Mm-mm.
So.
No chance on that front.
We shall see.
So, yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up, huh?
Short episode. This is weird.
Yeah, this is really weird. It's like, we're not even at an hour and a half yet. What is going on?
Oh my god.
But you know what? That means I'll be not having to spend as much since we're going to be over the storage cap. With this episode anyway. So anyways.
Okay, fair enough.
Guys, we are going to close it out for tonight. So if you guys want to help us out, the best thing to do is to head over on iTunes. Let us know how we're doing. Send us some feedback. Leave a review. And, if you do, we will read it on the show if you have a written review. Obviously, if you just, like, vote 5 stars and then you don't write something, I won't know. Ergo, I can't read it. So, there's that. And again, if you're looking for additional Overwatch-related content, we have Overwatch Recall, which is our podcast directory, every Sunday and or Monday, depending on the week. We do the weekly recall, which has a listing of all the prior week's episodes, which last week it was kind of slow. There was only like 13 episodes, I want to say, across the board, which is a pretty small number. Might be even less this week due to, Thanksgiving, all that good stuff. So to find out all the latest on the podcast front, follow us on Twitter at OWRecall. Now, of course, if you guys would like to support our podcast network, you can do so a couple of ways. We do stream some of our shows on Twitch, so any Twitch Prime subs are greatly appreciated. You can also sub for, $4.99 a month for Tier 1. Then, of course, we do have our Patreon page at patreon.com/OWLnetwork, where we have tiers starting at just $1 a month. And you know what, Ed? It's been a while since I've actually checked if we've gotten any new pledges. So I'm going to look that up really quick, as I think those who I know are have pledged, that being, of course, Blazing Bob, Brennan, JC, Owl, and Kesha. So thank you all for helping our network grow. But Ed, why don't you go ahead and let our listeners know how they can get a hold of us over on social media.
All right, so you can follow us through email at hndoverwatch@gmail.com. We are on Twitter, and that's at hndoverwatch. We do have a website where we post all this stuff, and that's www.owlnshow.com. We do have stuff on YouTube, and that's youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. You can come over there and join us on Discord at discord.me/OWLNshow. We are on Twitch, as Toad said, at twitch.tv/OWLNshow. So we are a Twitch affiliate. So come help support the show by subscribing to our channel and earn our network emoticon. Our podcast network does stream pretty regularly. So we do Overwatch League. This is an off week, so don't take this into account. Monday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific is Overwatch League Network. Tuesdays during the season at 6 p.m. Pacific, we have OWO by the numbers. And then on Wednesdays, normally, we have this show, Heroes Never Die, at 5 p.m. Pacific. And then the host streams run on a flex schedule, so be sure to follow us. As Toadman said, we do have a Patreon. Okay, patreon.com/OWO network. Crazy Ed story. This is an oldie. This is going to be a quickie.
Wait. Before you do anything, Ed, Spider does say that there's new YouTube stuff next week, and to get hyped.
No?
Wow, that was...
Should I not make sound effects?
Probably not.
No?
That was kind of lackadaisical.
Yes. All right. So Ed's story. This is an old one, so some of you might have heard about it. I believe I've talked about it. So, I've dislocated my knee a few times. Okay? 4 times to be exact. First time playing volleyball. Not sober, but justifiable. I connected with someone's knee. Okay? Another time I did it, I actually fell off a ladder. Sure, can happen. Third and fourth time, this is where it gets a little weird. Third time, bowling. I can even see bowling. You know what? Like you throw it, you lose your balance. It's not what happened, but it's it can happen. This most recent time, I dislocated my knee playing cornhole or bags, whatever you prefer to call it. I dislocated my knee while celebrating playing bags. So I Martin Grammatica the hell out of my own knee to the point where I had to have an ambulance come pick me up and take me 0.3 miles to the hospital. You want to know how I know it was 0.3 miles? The goddamn ambulance charged me mileage. So my insurance company paid for the ambulance ride, but they don't pay for mileage. So I get a bill from the ambulance company for like 23 cents for mileage to go to the hospital. So that is your Crazy Ed story for the week. But you can find me on Twitter at EdnarOverwatch, where I tweet. I say weird things. Today, my weird thing on Twitter was turkey is the worst part about Thanksgiving dinner. It's just true. Nobody really wants to admit it, but turkey is really the worst part about Thanksgiving dinner. There's a reason you always have so much turkey left over. Like, yeah, it's obviously bigger, but less people eat it. Like think of it. Like you look at people's plates. You got the mashed potatoes. You got the gravy. You got the stuffing. You have the yams. Green bean casserole. Other kinds of casserole. Well, turkey is like.
I feel like part of this though is also the fact that people always bring sides.
Yeah.
In abundance. So it just always has like a giant portion of the plate to turkey ratio.
Yes, but also 99% of all turkey, no matter how good you think you are cooking it, and how many compliments you get on it, it's dry as shit. Mm-hmm. It just is. It's the nature of a turkey because you can't cook it the same way throughout the whole thing. So, whatever. Turkey's the worst part. But go follow me on Twitter at EdnarOverwatch, or you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Edinar. Unlike some people...
I don't know what you're talking about, Ed.
Yeah.
Just like we definitely weren't late because I was too busy playing Battlegrounds. Nope, that didn't happen.
Nope. But where can they find you, Totem?
Well, I am over on Twitter. That is at TotallyDrunkCTR. And I also stream on Twitch. I would be streaming right now, but we're kind of podcasting. Because that's the thing. But I am on Twitch at twitch.tv/TotallyDrunk, where
I'm a follower of his.
That's yeah. You're also a mod. I should change that. But I'm basically streaming like Monday through Thursday with weekends kind of being a flex schedule. But this week's kind of wonky just due to our recording schedule. Tomorrow I can't stream. Thursday, holiday. Friday I'm probably going out. Maybe Saturday, Sunday. I don't know. But we've been playing a lot of Hearthstone Battlegrounds. Also been talking about it. Taffer Tales. Go check it out. Leave us a review for our 18-minute or whatever it was. I can't even remember. It was a lot longer. We're like, yeah, it's gonna be like 10-15 minutes. No, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But with that being said, guys, I do want to thank you again for joining us tonight on a shorter episode of Heroes Never Die. I would say, you can get more of your yard done at this point, if you're listening and doing yard work, but, can't really do that now because it's a shorter episode, but this has been episode number 187. Guys, thank you again for joining us tonight, and we will see you back next week for our next episode of Overwatch League Network. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, safe travels, and we'll see you guys back next time. Take care and have a good night.